Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I'm so glad you're here with me. In today's episode, I am doing some Scrapwood Christmas trees. I am doing them in all sorts of different finishes. One of them is a patina spray that I recently got, and it gives a really cool finish to these. I am also doing a Dollar Tree cutting board sign with this beautiful graphic that I found. When this is done, it's going to look just like something you'd find in Mrs. Claus's kitchen. And by popular demand, I am doing another IOD transfer sign. You guys loved when I did one of these in my last video, so I thought I would show you another one. It turns out so rustic and beautiful. I hope you guys stick around to see how all of these projects turn out. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. I'm taking this cutting board sign from Dollar Tree. I love that they have these a lot more now because they're so fun to give makeovers to. So I'm just going to tear off the surface that is there, and this one was already peeling off pretty good, but you can see I just rip off anything that I can, and then I'm spraying some water on here. I just let that sit for a few seconds, and then I just use my putty knife to be able to scrape that off. It may take you a couple times of spraying this down and scraping in sections, but it does come off fairly easy and leave you with a very clean surface. And then I'm just going to paint the base color of whatever I want my cutting board to be. In this case, I'm putting a graphic on the cutting board, so I wanted a white background so it would really make that graphic pop. There are several different ways that you can add graphics to things. This particular method I love because I feel like most of us have a printer, and I just use a regular inkjet printer. This is just a piece of copy paper, just normal copy paper that you have, or printer paper, and just a gift wrap sheet of tissue paper. And all I did was just cut that tissue paper to be about an inch wider than my paper all the way around, so that way I can fold the tissue paper over my copy paper, and then you just want to tape it down. We're going to feed this through our printer, and so I need all of my edges, my raw edges of tissue paper, taped down so nothing gets caught up or hung up in the printer and rips. Now, just fair warning, if you've never tried this before and you go to try it and it totally is a disaster your first time, it happens to everyone. Give it a try. It's very easy, but you do just want to make sure the biggest trick is to tape down all the areas of the tissue paper, so that way when you feed this through, it's not going to snag at all. I feel like that's probably the biggest issue that I hear from people. But really, this is a simple process. You just want to make sure that when you feed this through your printer, it's printing on the side that the tissue paper is on. And I'm just showing you the edge is all taped there. I'll show you, you can even use painter's tape to do it with, and it works beautifully. Now, when I did try to place the graphic on my cutting board, I realized there was a little bit of negative space, and so I thought I would paint a ticking stripe at the bottom. So I just taped out a little bit of area, and with a stencil brush, just went over that with some red paint. It's what matched my graphic that I'm using, and I thought that added a little bit more visual interest onto the bottom to have those beautiful little stripes there. So here is the image after I have printed it out on the tissue paper. You can see how beautiful. I'll leave a link to this image. It's from one of my most favorite Etsy stores to get graphics from, so I'll leave a link to them down in my description box. But I just cut out all of the edges, being careful not to cut the graphic at all, and just remove it from the copy paper. Now, since I'm going to be using some Mod Podge and the Decoupage process to put this on my cutting board, I don't want a harsh line along the edges. I want a natural edge. So in order to achieve that, I just take a paintbrush and some water and go along the edge around the design. You want to make sure that you leave a buffer between where the water is going to be and your design, because that water does seep in really good to that tissue paper. And then you just tear out your edges to give that natural edge. Now, I just covered the entire surface of my cutting board with some Mod Podge. I like to use the matte Mod Podge when I'm doing this process here, so you don't have like a big shine to it. But if you like the shine, then use the gloss Mod Podge. Now I'm using some saran wrap or cling wrap here to pounce the design from the middle out. And you can see that if I have any wrinkles or anything, I just lift up that tissue paper and I can straighten that out. Now, if you go to lift your tissue paper and you find that you're going to have a problem or it's going to tear, you're just going to embrace it. You're just going to go with it, place it down and move forward. It's going to have a rustic look anyway, so it's going to be just fine. Now I'm also taking a little bit of Mod Podge and going underneath each of my edges and then on top of my edges to seal them all, to make sure that they're not going to come up. I just want to make sure that they have a really good bond with the cutting board, and that way you're not going to have the image start to come up at all. And then you can use some clear coat spray, or in this case, I'm just putting some Mod Podge over to protect that design and the tissue paper. I know a lot of you have a lot of different methods of decoupage that you do. So if you have a different technique that works great for you, definitely try that with this sign and see if it works for you. Now I'm just going to take some of this really thick twine from Walmart, is where I purchased this, down their crafting aisle, and I'm just going to wrap it around 5 or 6 times around the top of the cutting board, or the neck of the cutting board there. I thought this really added a nice like homespun touch to it. It makes it look really warm. It adds some visual interest. And I really love the color of the twine, since I did kind of a gingerbread type print on it. The twine color kind of ties that in, I feel like, and it looks really good on there. So I just glued it onto the back there, just very subtly, so that way I just trimmed it so it looks very smooth and clean on the back. But I just really think that that adds quite a really nice touch to it. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the twine on it? Now I just took some additional twine and I looped that through the top there. As you can see, I felt like this really just needed something that you could hang this with. And by tying it on in this particular way, if you were to hang it off of one of your cute little cutting board bars or something, you would be able to have it hang flat so the graphic would show. But how cute would this be hung with a bunch of traditional charcuterie or cutting boards and have that beautiful Christmas design on there? I go around the edge and I'm just sanding the edge. This is optional, but I do feel like when you paint the cutting board, you will want to do this because you want to clean up if any paint went over the edges or anything, to give it a nice professional look. So that is why I do this. So how crazy you get with your distressing on there is totally up to you. But overall, I think this turns out beautiful. I feel like it looks just like something you would find in Mrs. Claus's kitchen, maybe. I love how this looks, and I think it's going to be a great addition for Christmas decor in my kitchen. What do you guys think of this one? Today's video is part of a Christmas collaboration playlist. It is hosted by Liana DIY, and our guest host this month is Up All Night DIY, and I am joined with Lori Bly DIY. You guys, the 4 of us have some amazing Christmas crafts for you. All you have to do is click that link in my description box or pinned in my comments. It will take you right over to the playlist to see all of the beautiful Christmas creations these ladies have made for you. Let's get right back into the DIYs. I'm taking a few pieces of scrap wood and I cut out these Christmas tree shapes, and I wanted to have kind of a little grove of trees. Now, I thought I would try something totally new, and so we're going to see how this turns out. So I'm just using my glue gun to make a little design on these trees. I wanted them to look like they were pressed tin. Now you can buy the faux pressed tin at Dollar Tree and cut those to size and put them on these trees and probably get a very similar effect. But I know a lot of you sometimes have a hard time finding that, or you want to do something that doesn't look exactly the same on each tree or something. So I just thought I would try this different technique, and each tree I'm doing a little bit of a different design. I was just trying to think of some different designs I might have seen on ceiling tiles or different things, just kind of geometrical or swervy designs. I really was just kind of making it up as I went along, and so you could probably look at actual tiles to get some inspiration for designs. In the end, I think these all end up looking really great. Now I'm using some of this Aleene's tacky glue because I'm going to place some tin foil, as you can see, or some aluminum foil down on the front of these. So I put my glue down and I'm just using a brush to spread that all out and make sure that it's between all of like the peaks and the valleys of all of the hot glue and everything. Now, and the hot glue is completely dried at this point. I just want to make that clear so that way you know that. Now I'm just gently pressing the design down, or the tin foil down, over the tree, and I'll show you another way that I do that rather than pressing it, because that worked but not as great as this next way that I do it. So I'm just again showing on my next tree, I'm just spreading the glue all out with my brush, And then I use another brush with a little bit of stiffer bristles to tap that into place. So the aluminum foil, I'm just tapping it down between all of those little decorative areas, the highs and the lows of all of that glue. And I do the same thing on my third tree. Once I'm done, I just rub over it all with the brush and just make sure that that Aliens Tacky glue is holding the foil down. So just let that dry before you sand it. Now I'm just using just regular aluminum foil. This is not heavy duty, it is just the normal kind. Now I'm just showing you this little kit here. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby, but I know there's so many different brands and ways of like this patina finish. And so it comes with your primer, in this case there's a copper base, and then there is the patina spray, and that's kind of like the activator to help give it that patina finish. So first I'm just giving this a coat of black paint, and I'm doing this on the sides and the back of all of these because I wanted these to look really old, really layered. And so you can see after that black paint dries, I go in with some white paint very thickly and put that on. I wanted these to look like they had been through generations and maybe been painted over 3 or 4 times of, oh, we need to touch these up. Let's place some more paint on there. That was kind of the vibe that I was going for. Now on this middle tree here, I painted the aluminum foil side with the black paint, and then I painted over in white and did the same technique on that one because I wanted it to have a variation from these other 2 trees. So for this kit that I have, I'm painting the primer on right now. That's what this deep coppery color is right now. And you're supposed to do 2 coats of it. In this case, read the instructions on whatever kind you're using, and it will just follow them to the T and you won't have a problem. So after I let my primer coats dry, I'm now putting on my copper base coat here. And then mine says while it's still wet, I go in with my activator spray and spray that. And I did not know how liberal to be with this or anything, but you can see after you let it sit for the amount of time, I had to slow this down because I was really quick. But you can kind of see that coppery color start to come in there, and that patina, that green patina. And I know there's different types of patina colors that you can get, so pay attention to that. It'll be fun to try them all. Now I'm doing on this one, I put a little bit of antiquing wax and then a little bit more of the white paint over it. I just wanted it to look kind of rusty and like aged and old. And look at the patina finish on this large tree though. Isn't that beautiful? I love the way that looks. If that's not your style, I get it. You can do whatever technique you want on these, but I thought it was just fun. But as I was sitting these here, I went, 3 trees is great, but 5 would be even better. So I cut out 2 more shapes of Christmas trees, and I'll show you those here in just a second. But I guess first what I'm doing is I put a back on these, and I'm just using, and that's only because my wood that I cut them out of was not thick enough. Like I was afraid it was gonna tip over if somebody like walked by it or something, or a breeze hit it. So if you have really thick wood you do this with, you would not need to add anything onto the back to help give them stability, but I just glued some Jenga blocks. So here's the other 2 trees that I had mentioned, and I'm just going to cover them. I got a little smarter this time around. I cover the entire thing in black paint to start with my base layer to have a little bit of aging look there. And then I just went and freehanded some more designs on here with my glue gun and just whatever. I've actually seen some people like trace stencils, so you could even try that as an idea. And I originally thought on one of these I was going to do the patina, and on the other one just do a paint finish to kind of keep all of the trees looking cohesive. But I do end up putting foil on both of them, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. Maybe you'll be able to see it. But as I was painting, I did notice that you could see a lot of the hot glue strings. And I thought, well, the tinfoil will completely cover that. So that is why I ended up putting the foil over both of them, was because it just gave it a nice look. And here's where I started doing that and went, oh, you can see all of those strings. I don't want to see that. I want this to look high-end and nice. Now I do just want to mention that you don't have to use the foil to get the patina spray. I could have just done the patina on just the wood and it should have worked. I haven't tried it on that, but the tin foil was just a technique to kind of give it more that authentic like tin pressed look. Now here I'm just putting that glue on, making sure that I get in all of the areas. And then the same thing, I just take my brush and I pat that aluminum foil down all over and just make sure that I don't press hard enough or pounce hard enough that I rip the tin foil, but I just want to make sure that I get into all of the peaks and valleys of that design. And I do the same thing on both of them, even though the one I'm going to give the patina finish to and the other one I'm not. I still do that tin foil just to cover up any of those gross like hot glue strings that you might get from doing the original design on there. Do you guys call it tin foil or aluminum foil? I'm just curious. You'll have to let me know in the comments. We've always called it tin foil, even though I know it's called aluminum foil. I'm not really sure where that came from, but that's just what we always called it growing up. So I apologize if I'm going back and forth between the two. So I'm just using a fingernail sander here, fingernail file to sand the edges, and you just gently go down. And you can see I'm just going along the edge there just to perforate that foil so that way you can tear that really easily. So here I'm just doing the same process that I did before, just painting that primer on, and then I'll do the base coat. On the other one that I am not going to do the patina finish, I am just painting it with a black coat of paint so that way it matches. You can see over on the left-hand side, the farthest right tree there that's all white. I want it to match that finish as close as possible. So I'm kind of having it there to use as inspiration because I want these two trees that are similar in size to kind of match. And then the other three will have different variations of the patina. And then you can see I put that patina on it and I sprayed it very liberally on this one because I thought, okay, I've seen what happens when you spray a little bit. Let's try a lot. And then I go back in and I'm just painting more white on this other tree. And I put a little antiquing wax even on it to help like dirty it up a little bit, like it's been sitting around for years. And then go over the top of it again with some white paint to hit all of those. It's what makes those beautiful lines that we made with the hot glue. It's what makes those really pop and shine. And that detail is what makes these look so fun. Now you can see my middle tree there of the three. I did kind of go over it with a little bit of white paint just to kind of make it look a little bit different. Now here's the patina on the smallest tree that I did where I put a ton of the patina spray on there, and I love how that turns out. So I don't do anything to this one at all. I just glue a little bit of the blocks together, and I do this for both of the trees, and then I just glue that onto the back to help this tree stand up. But let's have a look at all of these trees together. These are so beautiful. I think these look so high-end. They look like something, I wanted them to look like something that was maybe passed down from generation to generation. Just they were something that had been around for years and years and years. And I hope that that's what I achieved with the look here. And I hope you guys thought this process of using the foil and the hot glue was a fun alternative to using the Dollar Tree tiles or actual pressed tin. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I can see so many different surfaces that you could do this on. So I think we may be trying this again. But what do you guys think of this little grove of trees here? Are you a fan of them? I personally think they look so beautiful. One of the sections at the craft store that I always say completely gets overlooked is the wedding section. I found this beautiful sign. It was $2.50. A lot of the stuff does end up going on clearance in the wedding section because not a lot of people think to check there if they're not like looking to plan for a wedding or something. But it is a great place as a crafter to check to see if they have anything that you can use. Now, I originally was going to just sand off the verbiage the verbiage on this sign. There we go. Because I didn't want to have to use like 10 coats of paint to cover that up. But as I did that, I noticed the most beautiful wood texture. This is the second sign that I have had from Hobby Lobby recently that has had this texture, and I have really, really loved it. It has this beautiful warmth to it, and I thought, let's try and sand the entire sign and see what this looks like and if I want to paint this or if I want to keep that. Now, I'm just letting you know that I did not use my electric sander because I didn't want to sand off the texture because it didn't seem like it seemed like the texture was placed there. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm dealing with here and looking at. But I did just spray it down and wipe it down pretty good. However, I'll show you in a moment, I didn't do it as good as I think I should have. But this is the Iron Orchid Designer IOD transfer. It is the Candy Cane Cottage booklet. I purchased mine off of Etsy. I do know the store that I purchased mine from is currently sold out, but I have heard that they are getting these back in stock. So check your local IOD seller that has these, or check online, because I've heard that they're coming back, because I know they have been a little hard to find. But in my last video, you guys went nuts for the one that I did and loved it. So I thought I would show you this beautiful candy cane sign here. Now I'm just peel off the backing. These work very similar to any other transfer that you've ever used. And they are a little bit of an investment. So I know a lot of you were like, oh, I don't know what to do because I don't want to screw a sign up. I don't want to mess it up. And I literally almost messed this up. But I really think if you have some patience, it's really hard to mess it up. And what I mean by that is when I placed it down and I started scraping, and you get this scraping tool that comes with each booklet that you purchase from IOD. But what happened was I think I didn't clean off where I sanded good enough. And so I think there was a lot of the dust underneath this when I placed it down. So I had a very difficult time getting this to transfer. Now it could have also been the texture that was on the wood. There was nothing for the transfer to adhere to. So I think it could have been one or the other, or a combination of the both. But I just want you to know that I stuck with it and was very patient. It took me about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes maybe, to get this entire graphic to transfer, but it did work and it looks amazing in the end. So if you start doing this and you lift it up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not lifting up, or it looks like it's tearing or anything, just place that carrier sheet back down and keep rubbing and pressing until your design transfers and you can lift that up and move to the next area. This has a lot of little teeny areas to get to transfer, so it's not like one big solid design. I feel like those are a little bit easier, but when you have several different little words and several different little lines, and you can see kind of that like filigree almost on the corners, it does take a little bit of time with this. But I just stuck with it and went and took my time. As I lifted it up, if I needed to place it back down, I did that and kept doing it until it all came off. And you can see how beautifully it did come out. So don't worry, just have some patience. Now you just take the carrier sheet and turn it over, and you just rub that on to make sure that it is all nice and placed on there. You have a good bond. There's no snags or anything that are going to peel off your transfer design. And you could just leave this sign just as is like this. It looks just beautiful, but I do a couple of things to kind of make it look a little more authentic. This is just a reminder that this is part of a playlist, so when you're done with my video, click that link in my description box or pinned in my comments to be taken right over to the playlist to watch all of the other fun Christmas DIYs these other ladies have for you. And by that I mean I take a weeding tool. You can get these at Dollar Tree now if you didn't know. I've seen them there. I actually purchased one there recently, which they're pretty good. So keep that in mind, that if you don't have a cutting machine, you still have a lot of uses for these weeding tools. So I'm just going through those natural grooves in the wood there, and I'm just taking away or breaking the sign there, breaking the transfer, so that way it looks like it's a little bit more authentic with how those lines look where the grooves in the wood were. Now you could stop there, but of course I love to distress things, and so I did take my fingernail file and I go over the entire design. Because I loved that texture on the wood so much, I really wanted this to look like an old sign that maybe somebody found going through Santa's workshop or his old display of signs or something that had been sitting there for years. I love to make backstories to my pieces to kind of help get me into the mood of decorating them. But I just lightly went over all of the words, all of the designs, and sanded just until you could see a little bit of that wood tone coming through. You can see here, if that's not your style, don't worry about it. A lot of you think like, oh my goodness, I paid so much for this transfer. Why would I do that? I get it. Don't do it if you don't want to, but if you really like that rusty, crusty look, then definitely give this a try. You guys, what do you think of this sign? I think it turned out so beautiful. Now these are a little bit of an investment, but if you take the price of each individual transfer that you get and considering the size and compare that to Dollar Tree transfers, you're pretty much not quite equal, but pretty close. So just know that it is a little bit of an investment, but I think that the results that you get, this sign is just proof that they turn out so beautifully. Have you guys tried the IOD transfers before? Are you liking seeing them? It was wildly popular in my last video, so let me know down in the comments if you want to keep seeing some different DIYs from this booklet. These DIYs were so fun to make, and I think they turned out beautifully. I love trying new techniques, and I feel like those trees really did stretch my crafting limits with trying some different techniques, and they turned out so beautifully because of it. And it was so fun to make these two different signs that look like they're so high end, but yet you didn't have to have anything super special to make either of them. That there are techniques that you could use across the board for different holidays, and there's different ways that you can achieve similar looks. I just love how they all turned out. I would love to know if any of these techniques you have tried, or if there's one that you are anxious to try, or if there's one that you would leave alone, you don't want to try it at all. Let me know down in the comments. Remember that this is part of a playlist collaboration, so in my comments and in my description box is going to be a link to the playlist. Just click that. It's going to take you right over and play through all of the beautiful Christmas inspiration that you guys need to get your Christmas crafting started. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.